Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tayler Yarish Show. We are here and we are live, ladies and gents. Whoo, boy, what a week. I am fucking feeling it. Just got back today from Charleston, South Carolina. Was down there since Thursday doing some shows. What a good fucking time. God, how grateful I am to travel to another place to do comedy. Boy, a lot of fun. Gotta tell you. I've never been to Charleston. I never knew. I didn't know what to expect. Everyone told me that bachelor parties happen there a lot. I know golf is a thing that happens, but other than that, I have no idea, and I didn't know. But I went down there with my buddy Peter Wong. He got invited to do some shows, and he asked me to come open for him, and so I gladly obliged. And I just want to shout out to a Mr. Joseph Coker, who is a comic in New York, but he also splits his time. He's from Charleston, and he's the one who kind of set it all up and invited us down and fucking put us up. And like he runs like an Airbnb service, he's got a couple different properties down there, and he just like that's kind of his gig. So he put us up in a nice ass Airbnb. Just really, what a fantastic host, as well as just producer of some great shows down there. So give him a look up, a follow. What a swell dude, and really funny. So yeah, we did. We flew in on Thursday. First night we got there, we had two shows. We did one at like what was pitched as an apartment show, and it wasn't really an apartment. It was like in a one of these like nice community places, apartments, and then they have like a center, like community center thing that is, it kind of looks like an apartment, but it's like a space. No, I don't know. It looks like you like sell somebody a timeshare in there. But anyway, we did a show in there, and it was like just 30, not even, no, it's like 20, 25, just the 20 of the waspiest white people you've ever seen in your life. Everyone's got a boat, but very, very nice, very hospitable. We walk up, and we're greeted with some frozen rosés that are made by this local place, and that was very nice. And met some other comics from the area, and we just popped in, did a set, and then bounced out of there because we had to go to the next show that was at this place called the Sparrow. They're trying to do shows there. It's like a bar, but it's like a kind of a music venue type deal, and that was where the main show was. And excuse me, it was packed out. Yeah, holy shit, a lot of fun, dude. People in the South are they're more game. I'll just say that. Sometimes they don't always get jokes. Like if you have heady, kind of more cerebral type material where you got to think a bit, they're not going to totally follow on you. But in terms of getting upset, they don't really get upset about much. At least that's my experience. They don't get upset at anything that I talk about. So, but I don't really do like, edgy, racy stuff. So I don't know. But they just like, it just didn't have this vibe of everyone has a stick up their ass, and they're there to have fun, and they're fucking grateful that you came all the way from New York. I mean, I can't count how many times people were like, thanks for coming down and doing this. Nobody comes here. Nobody comes to North Charleston to do comedy. And so they were just pumped, and that's fucking cool. People want to buy you shots afterward, and there's just dude, I don't know what, like there were so many just like drunk moms at all the shows. You know what I mean? Like they're like drunk moms, but their husbands or kids were not there. It was very odd. And it's like, who are you here? Well, why are you here? Are you just escaping? Is it just a terrible marriage and you're just escaping? I don't know. But that was just a running thing where we were just like, we'd be like talking to them after the show, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And like, I love comedy. My husband loves comedy. My kids love comedy. And I'm like, you're all by yourself, and they don't know each other. It was very strange. But yeah, that was Thursday. And then we had shows on Saturday, 2 at that same venue, the Sparrow, and those were also good. Late show was a little bit light, and they were a little bit tough, but what are you gonna do? Um, but it was good. We went to this barbecue place. You gotta have the fucking barbecue when you go down south. I mean, come on. We went to this place, Lewis. I believe it is famous, Lewis Barbecue, and I got some sandwich that was like brisket, pulled pork, and sausage, just in between a fucking bun, and you got the pickled fucking, not onion, pickled, what the fuck am I trying to say? Because there were pickles. Pickled onion? Maybe it was pickled onion and then regular onion? I don't know. It was like the pink onion. You know what the fuck I'm talking about? It was that. And then, dude, star of the meal. Holy shit. I just want to say this. I am not a fan of collard greens. Never been a fan of collard greens. I don't think they're good. Most of the time, you bite into them and they're just like, they still have like the snap from like the thick root of the piece of kale, whatever the fuck it is. But it's not good. These collard greens were is one of the best things I've ever had. No shit. One of the best just foods in the way that it was prepared. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I don't know what they did, but it was so fucking juicy. It was like juicier than the meat somehow. I mean, it was unbelievable. The guy we were with said you got to get the collard greens, and then a dude, like two dudes behind us separately, like we were like, we've never been here before. They're like, you got to get the collard greens. So we get the collard greens, and it did not disappoint. Holy shit. And then the brisket was amazing too. Like the sandwich was fucking awesome. 10 out of 10 meal. Lewis Barbecue. I mean, it's one of these places. We got there at like 11 a.m. and the line was like out the door. It's like one of those places. And the dude behind us was a trip. He was just like, yeah, he's like, I'm getting the special today. Like you could tell he just goes there like a few times a week, and the special was like something, but it was smothered in cheese. He's like, you should get that. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna. Like that's not what you get if you've never been there. You try the fucking meat and then you try the greens or whatever. But yeah, that was a good meal. Another good. We had a fish and chips at this one place that was pretty banging. Although fish and chips, if you cook it properly, that's the main thing. Because the sauces are the king when it comes to fish and chips. The tartar was banging. They bring it out on like a whole fucking New York Times newspaper, pretty much, And yeah, that was fucking banging. And then we did go to the Airbnb. We weren't like near. We didn't have a car with us, and we didn't want to Uber anywhere. So we went to. There's a Waffle House next to like the road that we're kind of off of, and so one morning we went to the Waffle House, and I haven't been there in a while. I think I could be the chef at Waffle House, and I'm saying chef. There's many air quotes around chef. But I could do it. Do you know what I mean? I could do that job. I know I could. I recognize every one of the appliances behind the line. I mean, they're just pouring waffle mix into a thing. You're cooking eggs and bacon and sausage that are probably already cooked in some capacity. And the people that work there, God love them, but it makes sense that they work there. I'll just say that. Our waitress, just a few screws loose. Where you ever talk to somebody and you feel like there's something a little bit off, and if they were saying the same things but you didn't have that feeling about them, you'd be like, that's incredibly inappropriate. But because you feel like there's something off, you kind of just let it slide. That was our waitress. You could just tell the way that, I mean, God love her, but she like had a hard time computing just the order, and it's my fault because I made the mistake. I wanted I was like, can I get the hash browns well done? And I can always tell when it's not gonna fucking happen, and I don't blame the cooks. I always blamed. It's usually the waiter's fault because you say, can I get scrambled eggs? And they write down scrambled eggs. And then you say, let me get the sausage. And then they write down sausage. And I say, can I get hash browns? And they write down hash browns. I'm like, can I get those well done? And they're like, yep. And they don't write it down. And I'm like, oh, interesting, because you wrote all the other shit down. How is the cook gonna get the message? You know? So, of course, and Peter and I got the same thing. And then when the food came out, it was somebody else bringing the food, and the waiter saw that our food was coming. She was like, it's the same thing, just drop it. And I'm like, nice, okay. Well, my fault. I tried. But that wasn't even the inappropriate part. The inappropriate part was I don't know why. I had a coffee with me. I already brought one, but I was like, I'll still get a drink or whatever. You know, the shit, everything's so cheap down there. So I was like, can I get an orange juice? And she gives me an orange juice in a cup. And I'm, it's like 10 minutes into the meal. I'm drinking the orange juice. And then I can see her kind of looking at me. And she goes, let me get you a straw. I wouldn't drink it from that cup. I wouldn't put your lips on that cup if I were you. I swear to God, she said that. She said, let me get you a straw. I wouldn't put my lips on that cup if I were you. Uh, I mean, we were losing our, I genuinely was not upset. And I wasn't even discussing. I don't know. It was so inappropriate and not the thing that you say that it became fun. It became comedy. Do you know what I mean? We were just like, oh my God. What the funniest thing is that you don't even realize how wrong it is to say that. And so I feel like I can't even really be mad at you because for whatever reason, nobody's ever told you that you do not say that to a customer. I wouldn't put my lips. She wouldn't put her lips on the cup if she was me. What does that mean? Because I was looking at the cup and there was nothing visually askew about it. There wasn't like, lipstick stains. So where was this cup right before? Was this like catching a rain drip from the roof? And then you just dump some OJ in there? Like where was this cup? Was this the last cup? Was this in the back of the whatever, and it was had dust in it and you just poured OJ over it? Like what exactly happened? When she said that, and she gave me the straw and that was fine because you have to unwrap. It made me I wanted to like follow up and kind of fuck with her, but it felt mean to do that. That's how unaware I was. Like, she's not even gonna realize I'm fucking with her if I'm like, oh, what's your take on the silverware? Is that good to go, or can my meal be served in a to-go box with to-go silverware, please? But it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't really care. I mean, I use the straw, but like everything else, it's like, it's germs, I'm so over germs. Like the idea that I'm gonna save face at the Waffle House by because the fork was a little wonky or whatever. It's like, if you interact with the world, your phone, whatever, it's all gross. Okay, so just wash your hands, drink some water, stretch out. You're gonna be fine. That's my take, at least. So oh, by the way, I'm trying to record this on my my phone. I'm trying to use the video on my phone I'm just trying to test it out, because normally when I use the video on my iPhone and try to sync it up with the audio on the recorder, it doesn't sync up because a bunch of dumb stuff that doesn't matter. So anyway, if there's no video this week, it's because I couldn't get it to work and it sucks. So just trying it out. Yeah, there was also we were gonna go to this grocery store, and there was a grocery store like that was across the main highway that we were walking to, and it was called Commissary, and I didn't realize that commissary is a thing that is on a military base that is reserved for. You can't use it if you're not on the military base, which I'm just going to say is fucking stupid, okay? I don't know how many people are on the military base, but I don't know if it's enough. Like, do enough people live on the base to where they can't even be bothered to? They have to have their own grocery store on base. They can't leave, and and I live right by it. I can't go in. I can't even go in just to get some fucking eggs and milk. You don't want my business? I'm so confused. But I was looking it up, and then we just got caught up reading the Yelp reviews of the commissary, and people were oddly specific. One of the reviews was like, it was like 1 star. By far the worst watermelon in the area. By far. This guy's been to so many, he's tried the watermelon from all over. This commissary, by far, worst watermelon, worst fruit selection. And then there was another thing that was like, my husband was in uniform checking out, and the older black lady cashier said something to him after he like left a tip or something, and she said like cheap or something, and I thought that was very rude to do. And it was like she didn't need to specify that she was an older black lady, but you could tell but she did. But it was not relevant to the story at all, but she threw it in there just for a little bit of flavor to the story. And that's kind of how there is it's a very white town. Charleston is a very white town, and the shows were mostly white, and the streets, it's all white. Which dude, and another thing, lot of plantations. Holy shit. 'Cause we were trying to like figure out what to do around there, and apparently the things to do are you either go on a ghost tour or you go to a plantation. And the ghost tour is of this like jail, this old Charleston jail. It's supposed to be really cool, but it was closed because they're like renovating it, or they're like remodeling the jail, which kind of doesn't make sense to me. Wouldn't you want to keep it old and dilapidated if it's a fucking ghost tour? So we went to look at this plantation place. It was like a plantation historic site or something. I don't even know if it actually was a plantation, but it felt plantation-y. You know what I mean? Like just the way the land was kind of all set out. And so we get to this place, and we're walking up to like the visitor center, and there was a sign outside the visitor center that said, "Hey, free entry on Black Friday," which I'm sure is just a bad coincidence. But there's something about free admission to the plantation on Black Friday. Hey. You know what I mean? It felt a little bit like, okay. So we get in, and we start walking around. We got a little map, and we're following it, and we're on this like little main path, and off to the left, it said, "Oh, the African American cemetery is down here." So we're like, okay, that seems interesting. So let's walk down that path, and we walk down the path, and there's just kind of this small open field. And then there's signs that are kind of lining the field that just say African American Cemetery, which was very eerie and kind of sad, because it was like, because we were confused. Like, what is this? What does that mean? What does that mean? It's just an open thing of grass. Does that mean there's like there were no headstones? There were no, you know what I mean? Like it was very uncomfortable. But then we look at this. There was like one of those info plaques, and it was explaining how there were gravestones. There were gravestones there, and I guess that like people would like leave, back when they were putting them there. I guess people like put like artifacts or things, mementos from the people who died and all this stuff, and then it was like in 19 whatever it was removed due to a cultural misunderstanding, and there was no upkeep, or it was not maintained, so that it was removed. But we remember it by but it the whole thing just felt a little uncomfortable. So that was kind of gives a weird feeling in the stomach. And then we walk or keep walking down, and then there's like people that are, I guess, at work on the thing, but they're like in character. It's very strange. They were like dressed in, like the tights and the weird hats and the billowy shirts, and they're talking about, like, giving a little thing, and these are the it was very strange. And then we got to like the house, you know and it was just a giant white house, but in front of it was like the most beautiful, like this long, like, lawn. Picture like the Washington Mall, like that long strip of like, green, and it just was like stretched out in front of the house. And then there were these trees that lined both sides of the green that like grew up into the air and kind of grew into each other. So it created like this tree, like shaded dome that lined the whole property. And then there were like bushes alongside, and paths on either side. And you could stand all the way at the other end of the grass, and you could just see straight down. And it was just like the house is the clear, like, just focal point. And then you walk up to you get closer, and then the house, it's backed up to this like pond, some sort of, water thing. And yeah, just really beautiful. I mean, I don't know what it was used for back then. Again, nowhere did it say, this place in particular that we visited did not use the word plantation. It was said something historic site, but we just were inferring. Like, there were other places that were like, no, this is a legit plantation. This was not one of those places, but it felt, like I said, it felt very plantation-y. And, God, there's, I can't deny, like, obviously it's a plantation, bad, but I'm not going to deny that this piece of property is quite unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's like this house that sits on this, and obviously it's the way it looks now. It's maintained by people who have jobs, but obviously very problematic back in the day. And but yeah, you like catch yourself. You're like, wow, imagine living here. Like, this is amazing. Imagine the parties you could have thrown. And then like you get shot back, and you remember, you're like, oh yeah, they had slaves. Fuck. Yes. That's why it looks so good. Shit. But yeah, there were a few a few plantation, and I couldn't even. I was trying to imagine it, right? You're like walking around the grounds, and there's these different like pieces of land along the main trail, and I was just trying to even imagine living in a time where like you would be like, oh, there's slaves over there. Those people are owned by people. And by the way, I know that in today's day, their slaves still exist in other parts of the world. I do know that. But like, I live here, so this is what I'm talking about. And I just like I couldn't even wrap my head around, you know, like if you're just walking and then like, oh, that's yeah, we own those people. And it was just kind of fascinating to me, and I started reading this book that I got down there because I just became like kind of just fascinated by it. It's called like The President and the Freedom Fighter. It's about Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, and I mean I'm not I'm only like 5 chapters in, but it's basically kind of documenting and it's like a retelling of how they kind of came up, and then I guess eventually how they meet and worked together. But it is wild, like you, it's lost on you unless you kind of keep it in your memory, like how much of a bitter fight that was. It was not an easy thing. People really did not want to give up their slaves. I mean, it was a long. It wasn't just like, "Hey, we should end this. Civil War happens. Bam." It was a long back and forth, and there were like little, acts here and there that were passed, and then they were other shit that was passed that like went back on the acts that made like sparked little things of violence. I mean, it's oddly like I don't want to compare it to any issue of today, but just in the way that people deal with each other in this kind of like escalating manner, especially the way that everything is like politically, like the idea that because of something that was passed or like some government thing that people would rally together and go to a place and be violent. That is a very real thing that happens today. It seems more than usual. And so that it was just like it was making me think of it like, oh, you know, this dude was in favor, or like he said some bad thing. There was like one guy, I forget his name, but he was talking. He was an abolitionist, and he was talking about like uh, South Carolina in particular, about like this dude and his plantation or whatever, and then like that guy in South Carolina, his cousin or something, was like, "You don't fucking talk about my cousin like that," and then just like traveled, which was not easy back then, just traveled all the way to Washington or I guess wherever, and then walked into like the courthouse and walked right up to his fucking desk and was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I heard about what you said about my cousin and South Carolina, my state, and I just really think that you need to pay for what you said." And then he took like a club and then he just beat the dude's head in. I mean, just beat the shit out, like hit him like fucking 30 times over the head, right? And so then that slowly spreads to the rest of the goddamn country. And then somebody else is like, well, if you're going to fucking do that. And then they traveled somewhere and murdered like 4 people, which became a whole, you know what I mean? Like that's how it fucking starts. It starts with one guy doing something and then another person does something and it just fucking escalates. And before you know it, bam, civil war. You know what I'm saying? And so you read this and you're like, wow, we could, you could see it happening. I could see, I don't think it would be like a civil war, like North South thing, but, with two sides of something, I could see us going to war, and it would not be pretty, because it just wouldn't be. But yeah, so it was very very weird and fascinating all at the same time. But I guess it's just a regular thing that people do down there. There's people like taking fucking walks. They're like walking their dog on the plantation. It's like a thing you do. We also went to a like this, I guess, Magnolia Cemetery. It's like a big cemetery where a lot of people in the Civil War are buried, and you just like, I've never been in a cemetery like right around where wars were fought, especially on the side that lost. You know what I mean? Like the way that some of the headstones and shit describe battles in the Civil War, it's like, oh yeah, they talk about the North like, yeah, the enemy. You know what I mean? And about these people that fought in the war, like, and they're heroes that gave their life, and obviously the headstone was created back then. It's not like people of today holding that view. But I will say, a lot of Confederate flags in the cemetery, and that's just, I'm not gonna raise a hubbub. I'm in. It's like if I'm gonna see that flag anywhere, if I'm gonna see a Confederate flag anywhere, it's gonna be next to the grave of a dude who fought in the Civil War for the South. It's like, I'm not upset that it's there. It makes sense. You know what I mean? What am I going to get upset? The guy's dead. What am I going to get upset? You know what I mean? I don't know. Anywho, that took a dark, queasy turn halfway through the pod, didn't it? I'm sorry about that, but it was just, it was fascinating, and it got me kicked on reading about. Dude, I'm reading a book about history. That is not, that never would have fucking happened. But, sometimes you gotta see it. A lot of people learn visually. That's what gets them sparked up. Was there anything else I wanted to fucking talked about? Oh, we smoked some cigars, although Peter kind of bitched out on the cigar. Didn't really smoke it because it gives me a head rush. Little bitch. No. But they were good, really good cigars, like, handmade by somebody in the town, and they were like liquor. I had like a bullet bourbon infused cigar. Really just affected the smell, not really the smoke. It was whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll call it there. But overall, just a really fun time down in South Carolina. I definitely am gonna go back at some point. Maybe make a run of dates out of the South. Maybe do like Charleston, then Savannah, then like Atlanta or something like that. That's what people said that they do. But I'll see if I can make it happen. It's kind of hard. I don't have a car. Public transit sucks. But anywho, that is the podcast for this week, ladies and gents. Hope you had a good week. Have a good week, and I will see you next week. Peace out.